This is the brand new and a first from Thypoch, the 24-50 f2.8 lens. It's really small, compact, fixes some of the stuff from one of my favorite lenses, the Sony 24-50, but does it actually live up to the performance of the Sony lens? And is it worth the savings to go with a third party? And especially for a first from a third party, we'll compare both of them and find out. So I know my first impression of this thing in general when I just heard about it was, well, we already have a 24-50, and like if you're going to make a lens, like why this in general? And to be honest, I'm not really sure why they decided to make a 24-50 as their first focal length here, but I will say that Thypoch does fix a couple of the things that I don't like about the Sony version. And I mean, right off the bat, the Sony version at full retail price is, I think, $12.99, and the price after launch, so it's gonna be slightly discounted at launch, and obviously you can check out a link in the description below, but I believe this is going to end up at around $650. So right off the bat, the very first thing that this is going to do over the Sony is going to be that it will be half the price. And what I like a lot about the Thypoch here is that they didn't just straight copy everything about the Sony lens. It doesn't have the same mechanism where, I mean, I'll just mention it right off the bat. The Sony starts at 50 millimeters and it extends out to 24 millimeters. When I made my initial video about this, it's one of the things that kept me from going like, oh, I really want this lens. But the fact that it was just so useful, being a 24-50 at this size, these filter threads, all that stuff made me actually pick one up. But as you can see, they're almost identical in size, but the Thypoch has a fully internal zoom, which is really, really nice, considering that I'm spending a lot of my time when I'm filming at 24 millimeters. And so it's just one of those things where it just kind of bothers me. That's not the case on the Thypoch here. Now, the spec sheets tell you a little bit different here, but when I just measured them on a little like kitchen scale, the Sony actually came in at 400 grams and the Thypoch came in at 420 grams. So, I mean, really not that big a difference. 20 grams, what's that, like 5% of the difference in weight there. So, I mean, insignificant for me at least. So when we're looking at these, obviously, like the size and weight is just the general win for both of these. Price as well, because the 24-50 here is significantly less than the Sony 24-70 GM Mark II. And then obviously the Thypoch ends up cutting that pricing even in half of that. So super impressive. And as far as other similarities go, obviously the focal length is going to be the same. Again, I will probably mention this too many times, but the Thypoch is fully internal zoom. So huge win from that front, at least from my perspective. The Sony extends out at 24, which for a video lens, which is where I primarily use this, is where I would most likely be sticking. So it's weird to me. I know a lot of photographers actually really love that it sticks at 50, but I would just much rather have the option to be all internal either way. Now, one of the things that the Sony does have that the Thypoch doesn't have is this clickless aperture option. So you can turn the clicks off here, which for video stuff is really, really nice. Just have a smooth transition. One of the things that was actually pretty interesting is that I did most of my filming on this lens in the trip that I made with my friend Dave and Scott to Death Valley, and I accidentally forgot my other ND filters, so I actually did stop down a bit multiple times, and you get a nice little click there, but when you're doing video stuff, it's just nicer to have a much smoother transition, and again, as something that for me, these lenses, I use them probably 80% as a video lens. So it is one of the downsides that I say I wish this did have was a, clickless aperture option. They both do have a separate custom button here. Oftentimes I use this for an APS-C crop mode on most of my lenses. That's how I have it set up. So pretty nice there. Obviously an autofocus, manual focus switch, which if a lens doesn't have that, it's such a weird thing for me, but both of them do. And then I will say that the focus here, just as far as the feel goes, the Sony is much better in terms of just being able to grip. I think that the Thypoch looks cool and stuff, but the amount of grip you're getting is significantly less. It's really kind of smooth, and I would worry that over time that this would wear down even more just as you use it, and then you'd be losing any extra grip you already had. It's just really smooth and feels nice, but you just get a lot less grip here. Another thing that's pretty odd about this, as we were talking about the focus here, the focus throw on this, and I'm assuming that this is obviously just not actually moving anything, and it's going to be some like focus by wire internal kind of thing anyway. So it does have a USB-C port here, meaning that you can update this with firmware. So I'm hoping this is something Thypoch can fix in firmware, or at least make an option of some sort. The focus throw here is like 270 degrees or something. It's maybe even a full 360. It's crazy how long it takes to manual focus from close focus to infinity. And so it's definitely something that I would change about this lens, unless I was going to have it geared and you know, using it like that. Now, speaking of focus, I think that probably outside of image quality would be the thing that I would be most interested in here. But I will say that the Sony here is a little bit more just consistent. There were a few times where I would just be in an interesting scene in a way, and I would just experience some hunting and things. Obviously, I didn't have the Sony lens as well to do like a direct side-to-side comparison or anything. But I will say that if like critical focus in fast-moving subjects and, you know, like sports and things like that, if you're going to do a lot of fast-moving things with this lens in general, definitely just in general with any lens really might be worth it to upgrade to the Sony lens. There are a few things like the A9 III that it limits the amount of frames per second you can do, things like that. But if you're kind of like a normal person doing normal things, it's not really going to limit you. And I'm hoping, again, it's going to be something they can fix in firmware and kind of update as they go. But if you want to maximize your autofocus performance, obviously a native Sony lens is going to do that the best. So let's jump in, see some of the imagery that I've made with this thing, and we'll come back and talk about kind of where this thing lands and if
lions in the street in their heads for the reckoning day. Cause the interstate's giving up a dead for the reckoning day. Would you come alive, everybody? Would you come alive, everyone? Get up out of bed for the sound of the song unsung. Bury all your guns in the sand, cause the temperature's changed. And the bloodshot eye of the sun stains a bone to the slain. Would you come alive, everybody? Would you come alive, everyone? Get up out of bed for the sound of the song unsung. I was gonna take you apart on the reckoning day. If the property lines of your heart are drawn on the clay. Would you come alive, everybody? Would you come alive, everyone? Get up out of bed for the sound of the song unsung. The tide water's touching the shores of the washing away. The flood stands high at the doors of the houses you made. Would you come alive, everybody? Would you come alive, everyone? Get up out of bed for the sound of the song unsung. Lift up your head, all you gain. Lift up your eyes, all you wait. Daughter and son, ashes and dust. Come on
So in general, I've been a big fan of this lens. I think that especially at the price point, I think at $650 being half the price of the Sony, it's hard to justify the upgrade to the Sony, to be honest. I think that the Sony does do some things a little bit better. It has a little bit tighter close focus. I think that the focusing in general is just a little bit better. But if you're looking for a really inexpensive lens to go with the system, I think that it's obviously really good. And the imagery that I showed in these videos, I was super impressed by it. I will say there is one interesting quirk here. You do see that as I'm kind of panning across some things, it gets this really interesting flare that comes through. It's not an issue for me. I think it actually looks pretty cool and adds some dynamic things. There were multiple times where I actually tried to get that flare because I thought it looked interesting and made the clip more interesting. But it's just something to know that it's not something I've ever experienced on the Sony version at all. And it seems like it only really hits at 50 millimeters and at other focal lengths at the same angle. I haven't seen it, at least. And speaking of just oddities in general, the only thing that I think that they really copied outside of just the concept of this is the fact that this is a Haug lens hood. I came across this lens hood a while back and just thought it looked pretty cool. I bought it specifically for the Sony lens here, and you can see that it fits on perfectly. Obviously, it's made for this lens. And I just thought, what the heck, I'll just try it out, and was very, very, very surprised that it also fits on the Thypoch lens. So I'll link this below as well. So thanks so much for watching. If you're interested in either of these lenses, I'll have them both linked down below. Honestly, I think that the 24-50 focal length is just super underrated, and it's something that I use a lot for travel and especially for almost all of my video stuff. Just am a big fan of this lens in general. And the Thypoch one, while it does have a few drawbacks and does have a couple positives, being half the price is going to be a huge selling point. And if I had to only have this lens for most of my filming needs for YouTube and things like that, I don't think I would have an issue using this lens and would be really happy with it. So if you want to see more of these clips in context, you can check out my video up here. Check out another video YouTube thinks you'd like here, and I'll see you in one of those.